I'm just going to give folks a minute in case anybody wants to join in. Alright, so this is like the main Bitcoin chart that I look at. I usually have this up. Hold on. Excuse me. Alright, so this is the Bitcoin chart that I usually have up. Each one of these candles or TPOs is a daily. And this just kind of really helps me visualize where people are trading, where directional conviction is or lack thereof. You know, real big picture, like, you know, we had this big drop. We tried to get above, failed. We tried to get above, failed. We tried to get above, failed, and then dump. We're kind of working on the same type of structure, but if you look at it, right, we had most of the volumes down here, right? These shooting up sections, the volume is all in this general area right here. This like 21.4, 21.5 was where all the volume was. Here, you can see, you know, yesterday we spent a good bit of time up here. So, you know, this is just a way to kind of visualize that I kind of had that up, so I figured I'd check it out. What I was kind of thinking of doing was just planning a fresh trade. And feel free to just jump in and ask whatever questions you have. So let's see. I'm going to clear everything and just kind of start from scratch. I'm going to do oil because I just kind of feel like there might be a decent trade coming in oil. And it's a chart that I haven't spent a whole lot of time looking at. So I figured it would be a good way to help folks kind of visualize what I'm looking at. The volume on this is messed up though. Let's try Brent. No, it's not gonna work either. And what I'm looking for is just an oil futures chart that has some legitimate volume on it. So that we can kind of look at it in a little bit more detail. Let's see. Probably try this one. Alright. So the first thing I would do in this type of chart is just really zoom out. I'm going to add my quarterly and my yearly VWAPs because I think those become a lot more important. I'm going to remove the weekly and the daily and just kind of take a real zoomed out approach. That's not really showing me anything. So what we have obviously is this kind of ridiculous COVID. Oil went negative. I think we can basically disregard that. I think we clearly have a level right here. Let's see. These are, again, these are monthly levels. I really like that. That level right here has these closes, this wick, these closes, this wick, these closes. So I really like that level. This right here is showing me the previous weekly low, and I think just based on looking at the chart, it doesn't look super bullish, right? I've got a lot more volume pre-COVID in futures, and that's likely just because oil producers aren't really getting involved in futures because the prices are so high. I don't really think they have a need to hedge. So essentially, what I would be looking at is a move down here. I think this is kind of the area that I was looking at before. But before I move on to that, I want to kind of mark out this spot right here. Looks important. It's got, kind of topped out over on this previous cycle, and it's got this monthly open, and then this level right here has a decent volume spike as well. So I'm going to mark that level. Right. So those are my monthly levels. I could probably mark off this one over here. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and mark that one off as well. Yeah, I'm going to mark it just because. So once I've looked at that monthly, I then go to this weekly chart, and you can see just post-COVID, price went up. I would say this is all still consolidation. I think in terms of overall market structure, right? We're still bullish. This would be the higher high. This is the higher high, and as long as it turns before this, which is just dead spot on the last week's low. So what I do with that is just make it just a little bit more obvious, because essentially what you're seeing is you have your higher high, pull back, up. Anything below this breaks that monthly market structure. All right, so I think from my point of view, I would see this as mostly consolidation still. I think we shorted. Let's see, we shorted up here, and we caught a decent move, but we sold way too early. So on the weekly, essentially what I'm looking at here is we either break above this level, and the target would be 105, and then this high, the 123. Or we drop below. So I don't really see any weekly levels. Let's see. I'm gonna mark this one because I think it looks pretty interesting. So I'll do my weekly levels generally in a different color. I know I don't always do that when I'm just marking them out, but when I'm doing them for myself, I do like to just vary the colors a little bit. And then I go to the daily. Um, what I have now is very clear areas and potential pivot points. Um, I can see that there's a significant um, volume pocket here when I zoom in, but then when I zoom out, it's not really there, right? Um, so I think if you're bullish, you've got two options here. One is you bounce above this or before losing it, um, and the other is you do something along these lines where you kind of break below it, consolidate here for a bit, and then ideally move up, come down, and then up. And your trigger for this trade would be right here. So that's one option. The other option would be for it to move up and reject here and head back down towards this way. And then again, I think the trigger for that one would be in a different spot, obviously. Um, anything in between these is not something that I want to be trading. I either want this to come back, ideally sweep these lows and bounce, or, and obviously when you look at this one, you could also be looking at something kind of like this. And then your trigger would be over here. Right. Trading anything in between these levels, certainly you can do a scalp, but if you're looking for a legitimate trade, right, you want something you're going to hold. You're looking at, a 23% move. Your stop loss, if you were just entering this, you could wait all the way to here, but I think at this point, I'd really just be kind of looking at something like this, right? So I've got a 23% potential upside, a 1% potential downside. If I take this on a lower leverage, right, you've got, if you did this on 10x, you're looking at a 10% stop loss. I'd probably give it a little bit more wiggle room. You could even do something like, you could do 5x, give yourself that much room, or you could do a proper swing trade and say 4% move, 5x, that's a 20% stop loss for 110% potential gain. Obviously, you would TP somewhere along the way. probably look at something along, a TP on these prior monthly levels. So your prior monthly low, your prior monthly high, this resistance is pretty close to this prior monthly high, so maybe front run the level and do it somewhere in the middle. And then your last TP would be your TP3, and then TP4 would be, your moon bag would be out here, right? Now, so I'm looking at this and I say, all right, well, how likely is it, depending on where I take the trade, if I'm looking at this right here, this scenario, I think I can go higher leverage and tighten up the stop loss. If it bounces here before doing this sweep, then I'm going to want it to be tighter. If I get stopped, then maybe I look to re-enter. And if it doesn't bounce and I just miss this, then you just, unfortunately, you can't, if it just blows through this, then this would be your entry over here. This is your entry. So if I'm planning this trade, so on the challenge account right now, I think the value is 560. If I use 10% of it, it's $56. If I'm going to have a 20% stop loss on it, that's $11.20. That's a 2% risk on my small port, low leverage challenge account. That's obscenely high for most traders. And I think that anything over 2.5% is going to hugely decrease your chances of success. At 2%, I can't take that many losses and bounce back without taking more risk. I'd prefer to keep it at 1%, but because it's a small account, I think you do have to take slightly more risk. So what I'm looking for in this trade would be essentially $56 margin, 20% stop loss, 2% port risk using 5x. And that's it. I mean, if you're just jumping in and out of stuff without doing this assessment, so what I've done here is I've planned an entry. I know where it's invalidated. I know that if I enter here and it goes to here, it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, especially if it's just a wick. And I know that if price starts trading under this level, that I'm probably just wrong. So setting your stop loss here could work, but you're getting lucky. You're not really letting your trade idea play out. So what I've done here is I've mapped out 4 entries, really 5. I've figured out where my support and resistance levels are. I figured out where my targets are. I figured out where the trade invalidates in each direction. And then at the end of the day, maybe this is something that plays out next week or next month, and all of this stuff is laid out, and I open the chart on my phone real quick, because what I'll end up doing is I go over here, right, and I'm just setting an alert on this, right? And so maybe I'm out at the grocery store and my phone pops up and it says oil has crossed this line, and I look at it and my idea is already in there, and I say, okay, well, I'm entering it because I've already planned all this stuff out. If I wait for price to get here and then I start looking at everything, my likelihood of success is is much, much lower, right? If you start with this 4 hour chart, there's just no way for you to know what the heck's going on. Like, if you come into this and you say, okay, well, where's the trade? You're guessing. I don't care what the chart pattern and the bars look like. You're guessing, and it's 100% gambling. If you look at if you're planning your trades on a 15-minute chart, obviously I think that's better. You have this big drop. You clearly have a key level here. It failed to reclaim it. It dropped, but you don't know where this is going. And yeah, you could draw some fancy trend lines and say, well, if this triangle breaks up or down, you take it, and certainly that could work. But if you really want to plan out some of these trades, you have to zoom out. Even on the 4 hour chart, I can't tell where this is going. I have no clue where this is going. I've been pretty adamant, since about this area up here, that I was bearish on oil, and it's just a matter of figuring out where it turns around. I think this is the area, this 81 to 85 area is the area that I had marked out on my chart previously, which makes a whole lot of sense. But hopefully this gives you an idea of how you want to be charting and how you want to be planning those levels. And then, obviously it's easy to assume that I'm just opening, Dax can open his phone and just, enter random 200-300% trades. But that's just not how most people that are successful do it. Most people that are successful are really focusing on key levels, easy invalidations. Entering here is just a huge element of luck, because this is just not the area to be entering this trade. So that's it. That's how I just kind of go about planning this. This is something that if this were to reclaim here, I'd set orders here, and if it just kept going above here, then I would probably chase it and try to get on. You can do it with anything though. I mean, if you on something like CL where there's not a whole lot of history, you can clearly see there's a huge daily level here. There's a daily level here. You've got this prior weekly low, the prior monthly high, the prior monthly low. This to me screams swing failure pattern. So if we were to come down here, take out this wick and bounce, I would want to be long. And this is something that could take days or weeks or months. But again, you set the alert. It comes across. Maybe I take it, maybe I don't. But certainly taking out this area right here would be something I would be interested in taking if it essentially something along the lines of this, retest, and up, right? Something along those lines. But yeah, that's it. Really make sure that you're understanding where your trade is invalidated, what the potential upside is, what the risk is, how much of your account are you risking by entering the trade. And if you don't have the ability to do that on the fly, then you really just have to slow down and plan it out. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Or is there anything that you want me to look at before market opens? I'm going to take that as a no. All right. Well, let me check this message. All right. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'll try to upload the video later today or tomorrow. If you have any questions, let me know. Try to plan this out. Try to figure out where the support and resistance is. Try and figure out where your invalidation is. Share it in the chat. Let people criticize it so that you can learn, and then you can just watch it and see, because that's how you learn. If you're just buying and selling on the app, there's some learning in terms of following that price action, but if you're not taking the time to kind of plan this stuff out, I really, really highly suggest it. So again, if you have any questions, let me know, and yeah, good luck.